stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation given by Councilwoman Poland.
Heavenly Father, just bless us all in this wonderful evening we have at the council meeting. Help us make the best decisions and think of our constituents first. Thank you for everything. God bless.
Amen. Number 2 on the agenda is roll call. Roll call.
Markovich.
Here.
Spitali.
Here.
Kalwinski. Salinas. Poland.
Here.
Opinker.
Here.
Hinosa.
Here.
Higgs.
Here, let the record reflect there are 6 here and 2 absent. 7 here and 2 absent. Looks like.
May not have to, but.
Next on the agenda is number 3, reading of the minutes. Reading of the minutes.
Mr. President,
Councilman O'Pinker.
I would like to make a motion to accept the minutes from 7:25:11.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman O'Pinker, second by Councilwoman Poland, that we accept the minutes as read on 7:25. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Next on the agenda is reading of the minutes. Reading of the minutes? No, I did that. Number 4 is approval of claims. Approval of claims.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
move for approval of claims from July 20th through August 3rd for council meeting August 8th, beginning with claims number dated July 28th and ending with claims dated August 3rd, claims numbers 3538 through claims 3779. I so move.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilwoman Poland, that we accept claims dated July 20th, 2011 through August 3rd, 2011 for council meeting scheduled on August 8th, 2011, starting with claim 3538 and ending in claim 3779. I have a question about the last page. The last page is 2 sets of numbers. One is a plus. Can somebody give me some information in regards to the plus numbers to the right?
It looks like, Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
it looks like that's the total dollar value amount of all the claims, but it doesn't look right either because
No,
it looks
it's
like
too many
it's
numbers.
$32 million in approval of claims.
Right, it's too many numbers there. So we need some clarity as to exactly what is the amount of the total claims for these particular sheets. Is the $7,826,154.67? Is that the correct number? No, on the last page, there's a plus 3299-3300. I don't know what that's.
Those are the numbers of the Hammond Legal Aid claim numbers.
Oh, those are the.
Those are, yes,
Them are the-
3299 and 3300.
So them are the plus these 2 claims.
Yes.
Okay, so the total amount is correct. Okay. Any other discussion as it relates to the claims? Any other discussion as it
Mr.
relates?
Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I'd like to have a few additional amendments. Claim number 3780 to Mike Dankel, Hammond Police Department, $100 donation from Councilman Heniosa for the World Police and Fire Games in New York. Claim number 3781, Morton High School Governor's Booster Club, $100 donation from Councilman Heniosa for the football team. Claim number 3782, Hammond FOP Lodge, $400 donation to the Hammond FOP First Annual Hammond Fire Department Cookout on August 20th. I so move.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Markovich and second by Councilwoman Poland that we amend in claims 3780 for $100 for the police department. Yes, we did. The second was by Councilwoman Poland. That was on the original motion. Now we're on the amendment, and the amendment is to amend in claims 3780 for $100, claim 3781 for Morton School for $100, and 3782 for the FOP for how much, Councilman?
$400.
$400. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Any discussion on the amendment? Any discussion on the amendment? Roll call vote on the amendment.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Salinas. Poland.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes. Let the record reflect 7 yeses and 2 absent. Motion passes on the amendment.
Mr.
Now
Chairman.
back to the original claims. Councilman Markovich.
I'd like to make an amendment to pull 2 claims, 3299 and 3300 for Hammond Legal Aid Clinic. A letter was sent to the Board of Works requesting a copy of their contract. According to when I had the secretary check earlier today, she called over there, said that they were still researching for a copy of the contract as well as the other consulting contracts. And the girl that was in charge of it was on vacation, so I'm requesting that we pull this claim again. I so move.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilman Spitali, that we pull claims 3299 and 3300. Is there any discussion on those particular claims for legal aid? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote on the pulling of the claims.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali. Kalwinski.
Yes.
Salinas. Poland.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes, motion passes, 7 in favor and 2 are absent. Now back to the original claims. Original claim, is there any discussion on the original claim? Any discussion? Roll call vote on the claims.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Salinas. Poland.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes. Let the record reflect 7 yeses and 2 are absent. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is number 5, and there's a public hearing.
Item A, ordinance 11-23, sponsored by Councilman Spitali and Opinker. And ordinance amending ordinances 8880, 8942, 8091, 9016, and 9072, creating a voluntary retirement program in 2011 for certain eligible employees of the city of Hammond.
Anyone wishing to speak on this particular item may do so at this time. Please step to the podium and address your concerns to this particular item and this item only. You may do so at this time. Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now open. Can you please state your name?
John Zolno from Forest Avenue in Hammond. Who are certain eligible employees? Can it be defined?
His question, Councilman Markovich, was certain employees, can that be defined? Eligible employees. Yeah. Iris. Any other person wishing to speak on this particular item may do so at this time.
Mr. Chairman.
This is public hearing, Councilman Markovich. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Public hearing is now closed. Number 6 on the agenda is communications. I have a communication, one from the Board of Commissioners of Lake County, and it's a local option income tax. And Jerry J. Shue, Second District, sent it. It says Webster Dictionary defines option as a freedom of choice, the right to choose. Yet become the Lake County Commissioner in 2007, vetoed a proposed local option income tax, LETA, LOIT. Your governor and state officials enact legislation to freeze the general fund levy of Lake County, cities, towns, and taxing districts other than schools. If levy passed, the Lake County government's levies would have increased 2.8 annually. Many taxpayers felt that the local government budget needed reductions. With our veto, this has occurred in the last 4 years. Every municipality taxing district has reduced its budget substantially. For example, Lake County budget fell by 30%. The county commissioner should be congratulating for vetoing levies and not criticized. No other Indiana county has cut more. Lake County funds its government with property taxes, while 91 other counties use property plus income tax. Yes, some cities and towns and county taxing districts are now in difficult position. The excess from the property tax budget has been eliminated. A 2012 balanced budget will require more cuts. I am against any LOIT, because corporations do not pay this tax. Only individual persons do. Corporations benefit but do not pay. Basic steel and oil property taxes are now 60% less. The LOIT, as stated, is unconstitutional. It punishes only Lake County. I proudly say Lake County is the only Indiana county with a balanced budget that has a frozen levy for 4 years, and it has not passed a LOIT to subsidize the property tax. Sincerely, Lake County Commissioner Jerry J. Shue.
President Higgs,
Councilwoman Poland.
I have a letter addressed to Hammond City Council Environmental Committee and to your attention, Councilman Higgs. This letter is from Ruth Morris, dated August 1st, 2011. During the July 25th Hammond City Council caucus, I gave a short presentation requesting the immediate revival of the Environmental Committee. Portions of a letter dated April 25th, 2008 to Mr. Patrick Moore, Hammond Park Board Administrator, were read chastising him for authorizing the approval to cut down a grove of 100-year-old black walnut trees in Riverside Park to make way for a temporary staging area for construction equipment. If this information had not been made public, causing a flurry of protest letters and phone calls, it would have happened. Why? Also in a letter addressed to the council dated May 12, 2008, spurred by the above incident and reintroduced to the present council dated July 25, 2011, implies 4 very specific reasons that an environmental committee member should actively report matters that concern similar issues to the entire council to discuss. I would like to request the Environmental Committee, Councilman Higgs, Hinojosa, and Kalwinski, along with Councilwoman Poland and Councilman Opinker, meet as soon as possible to open a dialogue to discuss the immediate issue of the extremely valuable properties on Southmore Road as stated in the enclosed timeline of Southmore Road flood wall issues and fact sheet. Also a handout at our July 25th meeting. Due to work-related scheduling issues, I would like to arrange a short meeting for this Thursday, August 4th or Tuesday, August 9th at 7 p.m. in order to have input preparing for the next Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission meeting on August 10th. The meeting could hopefully be at my residence, 231 Southmore. Please confirm date with Debbie. Your participation in this discussion will have a tremendous impact on the city of Hammond. And I believe we are currently trying to arrange such a meeting, and that meeting, the Little Calumet River meeting, is tomorrow evening. But I did.
Councilwoman Poland, sorry to interrupt, but the Little Calumet River meeting is where tomorrow?
It is at the Munster, it's Wednesday, I'm sorry, Wednesday. It will be at the Munster Town Hall, and I believe that starts at 6 o'clock. Right. Okay, that's this Wednesday. Please come out for a very informative meeting, I'm sure, and I'm sure my fellow councilmen will try and all attend this meeting. I know I will be there.
Wednesday at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'd like to give a brief timeline of the Southmore Road flood wall issues. Ruth had attached this, and we are reading all of our correspondence that we received, correct, Councilman?
That is correct.
Right. Okay. 1990 to 2010, Southmore Road residents continue to strongly oppose the proposed flood wall, which would cause irreversible environmental and property damage to the properties because of the natural elevation of the properties. April 2010, the Army Corps, along with the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission, issues a fact sheet, which is attached, and I will make copies available. I don't think that's necessary to read that to you, Councilman President Higgs. Do you want me to read that too?
Why not? Go right ahead.
All right. I will read that then. Announcing that substantial design changes will be made to the unconstructed portion of the Little Calumet River Flood Reduction Project at the Indiana State Line based on new information from the Metropolitan Water District of Greater Chicago, MWRD, that would eliminate the need for flood walls in the Southmore Road portion. August 2010. The decision to eliminate the flood wall for Southmore Road was reversed, again putting those properties at risk. New drawings were issued, but the plans are currently on hold. June 8, 2011, mention at the Little Cal Commission meetings of talks again with the Army Corps, MWRD, and the LCRBDC spur interest with the Southmore residents that another turnaround in the flood protection plans may be in the works. July 13, 2011, Ron McCarran, Indiana DNR, and Little Calumet Commission members has requested to release information as to the status of these current talks. Ron was encouraged by Councilman Hinojosa, requested the Little Calumet Commission meeting to include members of the Hammond City Council's Environmental Committee in these new discussions. August 10, 2011, Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission meeting is scheduled. Okay, the fact sheet. Design changes near the Indiana-Illinois state line. Background. First design memorandum used for authorizing the Little Calumet River Flood Damage Reduction Project included flood walls in Hammond and Munster along State Line Road. These flood walls were to be constructed from the river north and south along State Line Road until they reached ground elevation equal to the top of the levees and flood walls in this area. This was considered necessary for achieving the 200-year design level of protection for the project, although it was recognized that these flood walls would be disruptive to the surrounding communities. Several years later, after the completion of the first design memorandum, levees were constructed in Calumet City and Lansing to reduce flood damage in these communities. At the time, Thornton Reservoir was not in place, and the risk to Cal City and Lansing was greater than it is today. Thornton Reservoir now provides flood damage reduction benefits to many communities, including Calumet City and Lansing, Illinois, and Hammond and Munster in Indiana. After the project was authorized, a design decision was made not to include flood walls along State Line Road in Hammond and Munster. This decision was based on the strong opposition to these flood walls, as well as the expectation that once Thornton Reservoir was in place and the flood stages near the state line were reduced, connection to the levees in Calumet City and Lansing would result in continuous and adequate protection for removal of areas behind the levees from the Special Flood Hazard Area, SFHA, designated by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. Cal City and Lansing levees are not part of the Little Calumet River Project and are not in the Corps' inspection program, so the Corps has not been involved in the construction, operation, or maintenance of these levees. MWRD Little Calumet River Watershed Report. In January 2010, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago completed the Little Calumet River Detailed Watershed Plan and Phase B report. In the report, MWRD formulated flood damage reduction alternatives in Cal City and Lansing. Several alternatives including rehabilitating the levees in Cal City and Lansing so they would improve flood damage reduction benefits and would be eligible for accreditation from FEMA for removal from the SFHA. Because of the significant costs associated with the rehabilitation, their report recommendation was not to pursue rehabilitation of the levees. Design changes near the state line. The Corps of Engineers and the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission recognize the significance of MWRD's report recommendations and is making significant design changes near the state line. Without a separation between Indiana and Illinois, portions of Hammond and Munster were of the NICTD Railroad and are physically connected to Cal City. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to reread this again. without a separation between Indiana and Illinois, portions of Hammond and Munster west of the NICTD Railroad are physically connected to Cal City and Lansing in terms of flood risk. The project authority ends at state line, and the Corps will not be able to verify the flood protection provided by the project between the state line and the NICTO Railroad. So the portion of the project west of the NICTO Railroad, east of the state line and north of the Little Calumet River will not be constructed at this time. If conditions of flood damage reduction measure along the river in Illinois change, the agencies say they will reconsider options on that section of the project.
Thank you, Councilwoman Poland. Did get a correspondence from our city attorney, and it says, members of the Common Council from Robert G. Berger, Administrative Assistant, dated August 1st, 2011, office staff. During some recent discussions, a question came up to whether the two members of the office staff were properly paid as if they were working the day after whatever they worked during the council meeting. This has been a custom and practice since before either the two staff members were hired. However, the practice is apparently not authorized by any written document. The issue here actually involves a rather small sum of money. Each person only works 1 or 2 council meetings each month. If instead of being given a compensatory day off, the worker would be paid time and a half for overtime, the amount of pay would probably come very close to 1 day compensation under the practice. The difference would probably be less than 1% of a person's pay. There are 2 questions in which I will address in this memo. 1, are there 2 employees in the council office guilty of some kind of ghost payrolling because they have taken off a day with pay for working our evening council meetings? 2, what should be the compensation in hours to be worked by the office staff? No misconduct. There has been no formal charges of misconduct against the council employees for what I understand. However, some people have been talking about ghost employment, because of the custom of giving an employee who works during an evening council meeting the next day off. As I understand it, the idea, somebody who defrauds his employer by receiving pay for time has not been worked is called ghost employee. However, giving employees paid time off is not necessarily ghost employment. Vacation, sick time, personal days are instances where employees are paid even though they are not working. As I understand it, an employee called out to work in a steel mill is entitled to 4 hours pay even if it's turned out his services are not required when he gets to the mill. Police and fire contracts also require a minimal payment when off-duty police or firemen are needed. Each payments are spelled out in the union's contract with the police and fire unions to which the police and fire ordinances make a reference. After talking to the staff and a few members of the former members of the council, it is clear that the staff was not trying to defraud the council out of a smaller payment, but that they were doing what the members of the council thought was established practice. Compensation for overtime hours worked for council meetings. The present written policy concerning hours of compensation appear to be contained in the employee handbook and the 2011 salary ordinance. The City of Hammond Employees Handbook on page 18 says, City Hall and most other public offices are open to the public Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, excluding holidays. Some of the departments have adopted a different schedule due to the nature of the position of the flexible work schedule to better accommodate the public. If the Common Council were to consider a department under the handbook, evening hours apparently would be considered a different schedule due to the nature of the position. The handbook also provides an 1 hour each day and defines the day as 8 hours without subtracting an hour or 2 15-minute breaks where are commonly taken in many departments throughout the council office. It is not clear how these provisions for the 1 hour lunch apply when the employee is held over for work after the regular hours. The salary ordinance sets the annual salary of employees, and it is also required time and a half overtime and more than 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week. There is no line for overtime, so the council employees working overtime for council meetings will be entitled to compensatory time off equal to 1.5 times the hours she worked. This would usually be almost the same as a day off. There is, however, no specific provision in the city employees handbook for the council employees working evening council meetings. The 2 employees and 2 members of the city council office staff are expected to work evenings when there is a council meeting. The custom and practices for over 20 years. Over 20 years. Let me reemphasize 20 years. While I have been the council attorney, has been to give the secretary or administrative assistant 1 day pay for such work. I believe that the members of the council have been aware of the practice, and as far as I can remember, no one has previously objected to the practice, as I understand it. The council president signs the timesheet of the council employees. That's not correct, because I don't sign employee sheet, for the record. Over the years, many of the present members of the council have served as president and have approved a timesheet. Most, if not all, the other members of the council have known about the practice and never questioned it. The council has the authority to set the terms and conditions of their own employees. The council can either ratify or approve our present arrangements or adapt some other policy as long as it does not violate the federal Fair Labor Standard Action. Under Indiana law IC 36-14-16, a unit may ratify any action of the unit of the employees if the action could have been approved in advance. Ratification of the action under this section must be made by the same practices that would have been required for approval of the action in advance. I had a short telephone conversation with Mr. Charlie Pride of the State Board of Accounts, and in his opinion, provisions for compensation of the staff for working evenings should be in a salary ordinance. I would agree that would be a good idea for the next year's salary ordinance, which will come before the council soon. But I do not believe that amending the old salary ordinance would be appropriate after most of the years gone. Recommendations. Number 1, I would recommend that the council take the following action. 1, adopt a motion supporting the office staff and ratifying and approving their having taken a compensatory day off with pay for every council meeting they have worked. That's number 1 recommendation. Number 2, adopt a motion setting out what the policy of the council is with regard to compensation of working evenings and council meetings. The council could adopt the policy draft by the city controller. However, the proposed policy, which would only compensate the employee for straight time and not for time and a half, to conflicts with the salary ordinance, which provides on page 6. Overtime 1 plus 1.5 times the hourly rate for the 8 hours per day are 40 hours per week on Saturdays and Saturdays. 2 times the hourly rate on Sundays and holidays worked. Office personnel shall be paid 1 or 1.5 times the hourly rate over the 8 hours per day are 40 hours per week if an employee qualifies for overtime payment under FSLA guidelines. The requirement is the proposed procedure requiring the council president to approve and for records to be kept for documenting the reasons for overtime seems unduly complex, and when one member of the staff is expected to work every council meeting, other overtime which could not be anticipated could require approval from the council president, but such occasions are rare and have not came up in recent years. The only procedure of requiring one person on the office staff to keep the office open during the council meeting and to be entitled to a compensatory day off seems more simpler. And that was from Attorney Berger, because questions had came up, and so as president, I did what I needed to do in terms of getting the research and the information and what we needed to do to rectify that situation, seeing that it had been going on for quite some time prior to me becoming president. So we wanted to address that and get that out there and get it taken care of, okay? Any other communication? Any other communication? Received a letter back from Henry Borja. I guess he's over the Hammond graffiti removal, and what he did, he removed the graffiti that I had sent the letter for at 5850 Columbia Avenue, and it was done on 8/8/11. And thank you so much, George Harkin and your graffiti removal program for removing the graffiti off the property. Any other communications? Any other communications?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Kowinski.
Thank you. Yes, I have a communication I'd like to enter into the record. Getting back to the issue of the Southmore Road trees and properties and meetings with Environmental Committee, I did not respond to the request for those meetings because to me it would be nearly impossible to have a meeting at a private residence without unintentionally violating the requirement of the Indiana Freedom of Information Act. And while I sympathize with the concerns of the residents that live on Southmore Road, I believe they are mistaken in their belief that the Environmental Committee can assist them. They cite their concerns over trees and wildlife habitat. These are concerns which under Indiana law and regulation are under the Indiana Department of Natural Resources and not the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. I am not sure there is any city council committee which would handle such natural resource issues, but it seems obvious it is not that of the council's environmental committee. The council's environmental committee has essentially dealt with environmental issues such as the Central Hammond hazardous waste incinerator that was operated by Stouffer Chemical, has dealt with hazardous chemical releases at factories in Hammond, along with chemical spills on the Borman Expressway, clearly recognized citywide environmental concerns. The proper forum for concerned residents' concern along the Little Calumet River should be focused on their city council district representative, the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, the Little Calumet River Basin Commission, along with the Army Corps of Engineers. This is clearly a district issue, and some district residents are attempting to involve the City Council's Environmental Committee at any cost. This issue hits concerns moving forward to prevent devastating floods against protecting our natural resources and wildlife habitat. The balance between neighborhood flooding and the protection of trees is a delicate one and needs to be made on a district level. How all the impacted citizens would feel when confronted with this decision will vary. Thus, individuals and organizations from outside the impacted area may do more harm than good to their cause. Attempting to expand the authority of the Hammond City Council's Environmental Committee will serve as little support for the true feelings of those experiencing flooding and are paying the high flood insurance rates they are required to pay on an annual basis. I've been fortunate to work with Mayor McDermott in order to remove most of Goose Island and Robertsdale residents from the flood plain. I have never sought to utilize my chairmanship of the Environmental Committee to support those efforts. I clearly understood they were natural disaster related and my residents did not want, but they demanded we protect them from flooding and eliminate their need to have flood insurance. It would have been inappropriate for me to involve the Environmental Committee in issues which are clearly natural resource and wildlife habitat related. Again, residents that have concerns over these natural resource issues need to take them up with their elected city council person and to present those concerns to those organizations designated and funded to address flooding issues along the Little Calumet River. It seems clear to me that the representatives of the Little Calumet River Basin Commission who represent the local and state interest along with Indiana State Agency interest would be the proper forums to voice their concerns. Concerns that have been raised over the sufficient money for a restoration plan to refurbish the natural habitats which are being destroyed along the river clearly show that these are Indiana Department of Natural Resource issues that are evaluated on a state rather than local level. It is my understanding the governor appointed a representative of the Indiana Department of Natural Resources to the Little Calumet River Basin Commission. There's no representative on the commission from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. In conclusion, the Hammond City Council Environmental Committee, in my opinion, is not the proper forum or has the proper authority for this undertaking. Also, this is a district issue. Third, 5 city councilmen cannot meet in a resident's home at any point in time unless a public notice is given and all the intricacies of the Freedom of Information Act are cleared. I understand the devastation neighborhood flooding causes, and I also understand the need to consider the impact a project will have on natural resources and wildlife habitat. But it is clear that these concerns should be directed to the local council person and those organizations designated and funded by the state of Indiana, along with those implementing their decisions, namely the Army Corps of Engineers. Respectfully submitted by Mark Kelwinski. Thank you. I just wanted to get that on record, sir.
Thank you, Councilman, and I kind of agree with you and echo your sentiments in regards to that particular issue because I'm not really knowledgeable as to what's going on. I can attend a meeting and I will give as much input as I can, and what resources I do have available, I'm willing to utilize them in whatever way I can. But I think the Army Corps and the River Basin, those individuals those issues should be taken up with them. I don't think we have a whole lot of authority as to what we can do, but again, I'm just a small part of it, and I know one of my colleagues, Councilwoman Poland, attends the meetings on a regular basis, so she may have more knowledge than I do in regards to this particular issue. So we'll just see what happens, but I will try to attend the meeting on Wednesday at 6 at Munster
Town Hall.
Town Hall, okay. Any other communications? Any other communications? Received by fax from Phil Talon at the Department of Planning and Development. As we all know, August 4th in my district, they took the artifacts out of the Calumet Theater, and now we need to have that property demo. We do have a 10% share, and I sent one letter to the mayor requesting that we have that property demo, and I'm going to give this to you, Mr. Dabberton, the facts that I received, and maybe you could discuss it with him as well. But it's just a price synoptic view of what the cost would be in terms of doing a complete project, and I'm sure it would probably have to be bidded out or whatever, but this is a general outlay, so I'll make sure I'll give you a copy of that, okay? Any other communications? Any other communications? Any other communications? Communications is now closed. Next on the agenda is committee reports. Committee reports? Committee reports. Yes, Councilman Spitali.
For 1123 for a third and final reading this evening.
1123A.
A.
Second. It doesn't require a second. I just need to know what else is being brought out.
Mr. President,
Yes, Councilwoman Poland.
I would like to bring out ordinance 1124 for third and final reading tonight.
Any other committee reports? 1123A and 1124. Any other committee reports? Got 23A, clerk. There were some amendments put in 1123 for the fire, the early retirement. So see, 1123A. There's an amendment. You need a copy of that? Okay. You guys got an additional copy in front of you? Everybody have a copy?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman,
If 1123A was amended in last council meeting, that became a part of 1123. So 1123 will be as amended, so it's already
yeah,
taken care of.
but there are some changes, so it's,
Changes were made when they put in 1123A. We've already made that as an amendment to 1123, so what we're going to be voting on is 1123A, or I'm sorry, 1123 as amended.
As amended, right?
as amended A, right. Okay. Any other committee reports? Committee reports is now closed. Number 8 on the agenda is ordinances on third reading and final passage.
Ordinance number 1123, sponsored by Councilman Spitali and Opinker. An ordinance amending ordinances 8880, 8942, 8091, 9016, and 9072, creating a voluntary retirement program in 2011 for certain eligible employees of the city of Hammond.
Mr. President,
Councilman Spitali.
I'd like to bring this up for third and final passage, please.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Spitali, second by Councilman Opinka, that we bring out 11-23A for its third and final reading. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
earlier on the public hearings, a gentleman got up and asked a question, and at the time, he wasn't given an answer. So we either should have our city attorney or Mr. Berger explain this, or maybe you ought to read this, or maybe the sponsor ought to read this ordinance so everybody can hear exactly what it is. And I think maybe that would be the best way, is to have one of the sponsors read this ordinance in its entirety so everybody can hear and understand what's going on. For certain reasons and so forth, I know I receive calls and questions, and well, why isn't our department eligible for it, and why aren't we entitled for it? And the individual had a valid program. What is the definition of an eligible employee? So I believe if it's read in its entirety, then maybe that'll help answer a lot of the questions then.
Any other discussion? Any discussion as it relates to 11-23A? 11-23A. Councilman Kowinski.
I'm pausing because I need Bob Golick in there too. My concern is that we're calling this the right thing, and I believe Councilman Markovich explained it. I just want Clerk Golick to agree that we're calling it the right thing, so we're passing the right ordinance.
We are passing ordinance 11-23A.
Clerk, is that accurate, that we're
The
passing?
clerk doesn't have any 1123A. What had occurred, as I understand it, at the last meeting, there were amendments made and incorporated into 1123. So the only ordinance that the clerk has is 1123.
I
And
have
those amendments,
11-23A.
excuse me, and those amendments that were made at the last meeting were made and incorporated into 1123.
And so 1123 is the correct
That
bill
is,
to pass.
that is correct.
Last time.
Put them in here. All the changes that the clerk has in 1123 are the same as was amended last time in 1123A.
This is 11-23A. 11-23 as amended. My document says A, but as amended, okay? As amended, the amendments were made at the last meeting, okay? Any other discussion as it relates to 11-23-A?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Mark,
I would request that
I
this...
got your request already. I'm just trying to see if there's any discussion. I will handle that, Councilman. Thank you. Any other discussion? Clerk, can you read that in its entirety, please?
An ordinance amending ordinances, I read the title already. Whereas the city of Hammond has many employees who are eligible for retirement with retiree insurance and or Medicare due to age and years of service with the city. And whereas the city of Hammond is committed to providing quality services to citizens while reducing the budget in accordance with the mandates of House Bill 1001. And whereas the city of Hammond, in furtherance of these goals and in response to these mandates, must reduce the number of employees currently on the city payroll and self-insurance. And whereas the city wishes to have a reduction in workforce with a minimum number of terminated or laid off employees, choosing instead to let those desiring to retire to do so. And whereas the city of Hammond by its mayor and its council wish to create a voluntary retirement program and make it available to certain eligible city employees. And whereas the voluntary retirement program is created to address the budgetary cuts and budget crisis facing the city and will be created and available for a limited period of time in 2011 and will not be a permanent program. And whereas the city of Hammond deems it necessary to establish a voluntary retirement program for certain eligible employees of the city of Hammond in order to observe and be consistent with the requirements of the Public Employees Retirement Fund rules and regulations. And whereas the city of Hammond would offer incentives to the eligible employees which would be paid upon the conclusion of their employment, upon retirement, and would not be an additional compensation of their salary as fixed by the salary schedule. And whereas such voluntary retirement program is not a pension or retirement fund, as preempts all other public employee pension or retirement funds. And whereas such voluntary retirement program would not affect any other retirement fund, such as the police and fire, which are authorized by state statute and are governed by state law and regulations. However, Hammond firefighters may participate in the city program. And whereas eligible employees wishing to benefit from this program would be required to sign up for the program and complete all necessary paperwork no later than September 30th, 2011, and retire prior to December 31st, 2011. And whereas an employee who signs up for the program cannot withdraw after September 30th, 2011. And now, therefore, be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Hammond, Indiana, that a 2011 voluntary retirement program be created and funded as follows. Section 20.30, City of Hammond 2011 Voluntary Retirement Program. Number 1, eligibility. To be eligible for the voluntary retirement program, a person must be a current full-time Hammond City employee or Hammond firefighter who currently possesses A, 65 years of age and 10 years of city service, or B, 60 years of age and 15 years of city service, or C, rule of 85 employees as defined by PERF. 2, program benefits. Eligible employees as defined above who voluntarily elect to retire and register for this program by September 30th, 2011, and actually complete the retirement process before December 31st, 2011. Eligible employees will have until September 30th, 2011 to decide to accept the program, and rejection of the program shall not entitle the eligible employee to these offered benefits at any future time. Once an employee retires under this program, such employee shall not be eligible for employment as a full-time employee of the City of Hammond, but may work in a contract capacity if necessary. Funding for the 2011 Voluntary Retirement Program will come from the department budget or shared 10% of gaming funds. For each employee participating in the program, a full-time position must be permanently cut from that employee's department. Participating eligible employees shall be entitled to receive A, a one-time voluntary retirement program award of $1,000 for each year of employment completed prior to retirement with the City of Hammond. For example, 10 years of service would equal $10,000. B, continue to be covered as a retiree under the City of Hammond insurance. Such retiree status would require the city insurance to be secondary insurance subordinate to Medicare or subordinate to other employers if and when the eligible employee finds other employment that provides health insurance. C, eligible employees electing to participate in this program will be required to sign a release, waiver, and voluntary retirement program agreement. The waiver and agreement will advise the employee of the rights and responsibilities under the program and advise them to seek independent legal counsel prior to the signing of the document. 3, severability. In the event that any court of other entity having jurisdiction finds any provision, section, or part of this ordinance to be invalid, it shall not invalidate other provisions or sections of this ordinance. Concludes the ordinance.
Thank you, Clerk Golick. Any other discussion as it relates to this particular ordinance?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Mark?
I'd like to make an amendment on page 2, under the last whereas. They did mention in the ordinance on page 3, once an employee retires under this program, such employee shall not be eligible for employment as a full-time employee of the City of Hammond, but may work in a contract capacity if necessary. Well, we all got caught, and even this council did with our own attorney, that he took the buyout and then we had to hire him back by contract. If that would have been the case, we'd have been better off just to keep him on as a full-time employee and get the full 40 hours per week work out of him, or as a full employee. Some of the things that have been happening in the past is, but may work in a contract capacity. But it says here also, for each employee participating in the program, a full-time position must be permanently cut from the employee's department. You can get an employee cut from that department, but they go work in another department. So it's not really doing anything to reduce any more employees. Case in point, you have people retire from the fire department or another department, and they come back and work in code enforcement. So you really didn't eliminate a position because they went ahead and worked in another department. One of the biggest outcries that happened last year or 2 years ago was in the town of Munster with their school city. Roughly 3 or 4 administrators resigned June 30th and then got hired back August 1st, something to that effect. What the law states is if they're gone for 1 month, then they could come back and get rehired. What happened in Munster, these guys were making $90,000, $95,000 a year. They sat out for 1 month. They hired him back under contract as a consultant. Yes, they weren't paying their benefits for him anymore, or unemployment, but they received the same full salary that they were making prior to leaving. That's what I'm concerned about with. So I would make an amendment on page 2, under the last whereas, where it says an employee who signs up for the program cannot withdraw after September 30th, 2011. I would include this next whereas. Whereas an employee who signs up for the program cannot be hired by any city department, i.e. water department, sanitary department, port authority, or civil city, as a part-time employee or as a consultant until after 1 year has elapsed, that date being December 31st, 2012. I so move.
You heard the motion. Is there a second? Is there a second?
It's not going to pass anyway.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Back to the original motion. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Markovich.
No.
Spitali.
Yes.
Galwinski.
Yes.
Salinas. Poland.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes, motion passes, six in favor, 2 are absent, and 1 no.
Ordinance 11-24, sponsored by Councilwoman Poland. An ordinance to amend Ordinance 7974 and amended Ordinance 8400, also known as Title 13, Chapter 132 of the Hammond Municipal Code as it pertains to deadly weapons in civil city public buildings.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Poland.
I would like ordinance number 1124 read on third and final reading, please.
It's been motioned, is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilwoman Poland, second by Councilman Hinojosa, that we pass 11-24 on this last and final reading. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Poland.
I would like to amend in a sentence in ordinance 1124 under 132.073 firearms in Hammond Public Buildings, Section A. I would like it to read, no person other than a duly authorized law enforcement officer, security officer, or any elected city official, including legislative, judicial, and executive, shall carry or otherwise possess a firearm in any public building owned or leased by the city of Hammond or any city board or commission if that building contains the courtroom of a circuit, superior, city, town, or small claims court. I would just like that sentence amended into Section A.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilwoman Poland, second by Councilman Hinojosa, that we amend in a section and should read that, restate that for the clerk and I.
Okay. No person other than a duly authorized law enforcement officer, security officer, or any elected city official, including legislative, judicial, and executive, shall carry or otherwise possess a firearm in any public building owned or leased by the city of Hammond or any city board or commission if that building contains the courtroom of a circuit, superior, city, town, or small claims court. No individual may intentionally display a firearm or other weapon at a public meeting. Non-firearm deadly weapons are prohibited in all city buildings.
It's been motioned and second. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Any discussion on the amendment? Any discussion on the amendment? Roll call vote on the amendment.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
No.
Galwinski.
No.
Salinas. Poland.
Yes.
Opinker.
No.
Enosa.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes. Motion passes, 4 in favor, 3 noes, and 2 are absent. 6, yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 noes and 4 yeses. Motion fails, and 2 are absent. Back to the original motion.
I withdraw from final passage and adoption right now.
Let the record reflect that Councilwoman Poland pulls her motion. Can I have a motion to rescind the second?
Second. Mr. President, motion to pull my second.
Okay, it's been a motion to rescind the second as well. Okay, The next item on the agenda is introduction of ordinances, and there are none tonight. So introduction of ordinances are now closed. Number 10 on the agenda is resolutions.
Item A, Resolution 11R10, sponsored by Councilman Salinas. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Hammond, Indiana, approving Redevelopment Commission Resolution 8-2011 and the Hammond Plan Commission Resolution 2011-02, both regarding an amendment to the urban renewal plan for the downtown number 1 urban renewal area.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Poland.
I'd like Resolution 11R10 read on first reading.
No, resolutions are just passed. So are you making a
Yes,
motion to pass
I'm
the
making a
resolution?
motion to pass 11R10.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? For resolution 11R-10, is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilwoman Poland and second by Councilman Kowinski that we pass resolution 11R10. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Martin.
as brought up in the caucus, I would make a request that we have a public hearing on August 22nd, 2011. Reason being, several property owners were told in the past that this would not affect their property. Recently, some of them called and said that they received notices that their property is going to be taken away from them. Even though the planning department said that they sent out notices and notified these people, as a city councilman representing that area and these people, I would make a request that we have a public hearing on 8/22/11. I so move. Put the public hearing
On 8 what?
8/22/11. Or, Mr. Chairman, let's go another route. I make a motion to table. Second.
Well, there is no discussion on the motion to table. Roll call vote. It's been motioned by Councilman Markovich and second by Councilman Nahosa that we table 11-10, which I don't know what the big issue is, but 11-10. Can we have a roll call vote on 11?
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
No.
Kalwinski.
No.
Salinas. Poland.
Yes.
Opinker.
No.
Enosa.
Yes.
Higgs.
No. Motion fails, 4 noes, 3 yeses, and 2 are absent.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
in view of the fact that the sponsor of this ordinance is not here and this is his district, I would make a motion that refer this back to council as a whole. Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilman Nahosa that we refer this back to council as a whole. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
again, Councilman Salinas is not here. This is his district. He's the sponsor. These are his constituents. None of them are here whose property is being condemned to be taken away from them that I can see out here. Yeah, I see 2 of them now. But being that the other ones are not here and being able to be representative, I would make a motion referred back to committee for that reason so that we can have all the information brought out.
It's already been motioned and second. Is there any other discussion that has not already been brought up? Any other discussion?
Somebody must.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote on referring back to council as a whole.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali.
Yes.
Kalwinski.
Yes.
Salinas. Poland.
Yes.
Opinker.
Yes.
Enosa.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes, motion passes. 7 yeses and 2 are absent.
President Higgs, that concludes the reading of the resolutions.
Thank you so much, Clerk Golick, and thank you for getting back on your speedy recovery on your knee. Next on the agenda is new and unfinished business. New and unfinished business.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
make a motion to have a letter sent to all the property owners listed on page 11 of Resolution 11R-10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Roughly, there's 10 property addresses sent to that. And that they all be notified that there's going to be a committee hearing. And when this committee hearing is set up, that they'd be notified whenever the
Committee
president...
hearing or a public hearing, Council?
Well, I tried to get a public hearing, and that didn't
You
pass.
never made a motion on the floor. I told you to do that under communications. You never did that.
Well, we got it under council as a whole, Mr. Chairman.
So what's your motion at this point?
To send a letter to all those property owners listed there.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilman Nahosa, that we send a letter to all those affected properties adjacent to this resolution, which is downtown Hammond, Resolution 11R10, which are stated in the diagram and also in the description of this particular document. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
in this process, is that already being done, or is that to be done in some step of this process?
Yes, as Brian stated before, that's why I didn't understand why it was a big issue, because Brian already said, once it goes back to the redevelopment commission, they will notify all the affected property owners. So I don't know, and they already are aware of what's going on, so I don't understand, the reasoning.
That's what I thought, Mr. Chairman. It sounds like we're being redundant.
Yeah, to me too, but.
President,
Councilman
could we
Vitale.
have Mr. Poland come to the mic and explain that?
It's really no need for it, because you guys have already made a motion. We went through this in discussion in caucus, and you guys had an opportunity to address any concerns at that point. So you made a motion to table,
Oh, to refer back to committee.
refer to, I'm sorry, not table, to refer back to council as a whole. So he already stated to you what the procedure was, so it would just be repeating itself. Councilman Markovich.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we have a council as a whole meeting on August 22nd at 6:30 in the City Council caucus room.
Mr. Chairman,
It's a motion on the floor. It's a motion by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilman Nahosa, that we have a committee meeting at 6:30 pertaining this particular ordinance, 11-R10. Not ordinance, resolution, 11-R10. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Kowinski.
just as we just gave Councilman Salinas the room to bring this out, shouldn't we give him the room to schedule his own committee meeting too? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Markovich is okay.
I can concur with Councilman Kowinski,
Iris.
but seeing how most of our committee hearings are the night before a council meeting, I don't see a problem with it. And if Mr. Salinas does want to reschedule it, I would be open for that, for rescheduling that meeting.
Well, normally it's under the discretion of the president, but you guys want to go back and forth about something so small. It's up to you how you want to handle it. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me. Yeah. What you guys want to do here about this issue?
Well, I mean, Mr. Chairman,
Like you and Kowinski, how you want to handle it? Either
you
wanna
make
have
the
a meeting-
decision, Mr. Chairman, like
Well,
you just
At
said.
some point I will, but right now there's a motion on the floor, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I'm just trying to be amenable, but historically, we've had these meetings as a whole right before the council meeting. Now, if he wants to schedule it on a different date, that's fine too.
Well, any scheduling that goes on, I'll schedule. So now, what is the issue here? It's fine with me at the next council meeting, but if you guys want to, I don't know what your availability is. Is everybody going to be here in the next council meeting or what? That's the question. But anyway, you guys made this an issue, so back to the original motion.
Isn't it a question of consistency?
With consistency.
Certainly. But, you know, you never know when that's going to play a part in this either, so. The original motion was to,
It's already in committee.
we referred it back to council.
Oh, we just want to set up a committee hearing.
Now you made a motion to set up a committee here. Was there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Markovich, second by Councilman Hinojosa, that we schedule a committee meeting at 6:30 on August 22nd
Second.
at 6:30 pertaining to this particular ordinance 11-R10. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote on that particular meeting on the 22nd at 6:30.
Markovich.
Yes.
Spitali. Galwinski.
No.
Salinas. Poland.
Yes,
Opinker.
No.
Enosa.
Yes.
Higgs.
Yes. 4 yeses, 3 noes, and 2 absent. Motion fails. Oh, my God.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
I would like to make a motion that whenever 11R-10 is heard, that we have a public hearing set on this same date. I so move.
Councilman, I think that's going to take place anyway. I think you're just beating a dead horse at this particular point because your colleagues are seeming to be voting against you on it. So I would just leave it alone. Wouldn't that make sense?
Mr. Chairman, not necessarily, because what if somebody wants to bring this out at the next meeting without notifying everybody that they're going to address this at the next council meeting? Therefore, if we schedule a public hearing, everybody will be notified and it'll
Well,
be in the newspaper too.
Councilman, as your president and as the president of the Common Council, I can assure you that everybody will be notified and the meeting will probably most and likely 99.9% happen on the day of a council meeting.
Mr. President, at 7 o'clock?
I don't know, I haven't scheduled it yet.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Councilman, so we can move on and conclude this meeting? Yes, no?
Do whatever you want.
Oh. So you rescind your motion? Because you made another
And
motion.
the motion was for a public hearing, correct?
I think the last motion was to make sure that all the people were notified of the meeting.
I believe my motion was a public hearing on 8/22.
A public hearing on 8/22. Okay, so are you rescinding that motion?
No.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Mr. President,
Councilman,
I'm sure
doing
by the,
unfinished business.
I'm sure by the next meeting, this resolution will go back up, and I'm sure, like we have in the past, if enough people in the audience come out and would like to speak on this, even though we don't have a meeting set for it, I'm sure if the public is out there, if there's a lot of people out there from the public that would like to speak on this, I'm sure we'll suspend the rules. I'm sure that we're going to let the audience speak on this, and I'm sure that the council will grant permission and suspend the rules and let these people speak on this resolution. Thank you.
Any other new and unfinished business? Any other new and unfinished
Mr.
business?
President,
Councilwoman Poland, I'm sorry.
I'd like a letter sent to the Board of Works and copy Gary Gleason. I'd like to request a traffic study for Madison, 169th to 171st. I would like, I've been requested by the residents of Madison who are interested in looking into getting that a one-way going north from 169th to 171st. That street faces Edison School, and school is getting ready to start. So I do request a traffic study for that area be done. As I said, I have been requested by several of the residents because due to the traffic congestion at Edison.
Is there a second to the motion of having the letter sent to the Board of Works? Been motioned by Councilwoman Poland, second by Councilman Hinojosa that we send a letter to the Board of Works in regards to a traffic study on Madison. Any other discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. I received a correspondence that says, to the Office of the Common Council, attention, Anthony Hicks, Council President, approval of sign placement. Dear Council President, on Thursday, July 28, 2011, the Board of Public Works and Safety approved a 90-day trial period for no parking signage to be placed in the islands of Glover Street and 137th Street and 139th Street. The board also approved placement of no parking signs on this side of the street, signage on the 137th and Glover Avenue and Sheffield Avenue on July 28, 2011. If you have any questions regarding this matter, please contact my office, Lon Levilette, Secretary of the Board of Works and Safety. I'm requesting a letter go to the Board of Works and also to Code Enforcement in regards to the properties at 1030 and 1130 Highland who need to have a cut and clean on those properties. I so move. It's been motioned by Councilman Higgs and second by Councilman Hossa that we send a letter to the Board of Works regarding these two properties and to Code Enforcement to have a cut and clean take place. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. New and unfinished business. New and
Chairman.
unfinished business.
Chairman.
Councilman Kowinski.
Thank you. An announcement regarding the Hammond Academy of Science and Technology. There will be school tours on Friday, August 26th at 6:30 p.m. at 33 Munich Court. There will be a ribbon cutting at the school on Friday, August 26th at 3 p.m. and tours at 6:30. So for people who want to see the new school, that's an opportunity to get out there and have a look-see. Thank you.
Just want to do a point of information to just give my condolences to Camelia Robertson in the loss of her husband. I had two funerals on Saturday. Barbara Perkins, her grandson passed away. And also there was another funeral at my church, and that was Mr. Chambers, who passed away as well. So my condolences goes out to all those bereaved families. New and unfinished business.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Poland.
to be a little clearer, Councilman Kowinski, on, for the Hast School opening, that's a public ribbon cutting ceremony, which is on Friday, August 26th at 3 o'clock. And there's school tours at 6:30 p.m., but that's for Friday. That's when the public ribbon cutting is scheduled. What you'd mentioned is a preview party. That's a private by invitation only that evening. But on Friday is the grand opening and the ribbon cutting. To be clear. And that would be at the Hammond Academy at 33 Munich Court. Sure to be a very good time. Friday, August 26th at 3 o'clock.
Thank you. Councilman Markovich.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Markovich.
we're going to have a new member here keeping us safe at the council meetings. Pat Vicari, who has been our security here at the council meetings, he said for the last 7 years, boy, time really flies. He is going to be relinquishing his duties as being our guy in charge as far as keeping everybody in line, and we're going to have his replacement, John Cook, who goes around as Bill Clinton for all these other functions that he has. So in the future, when you see it, our new officer, you'll see Bill Clinton here, a.k.a. John Cook, taking care of all of our security here at our council meetings.
Thank you, and thank you for a job well done for providing us safety and protection during our council meetings, because sometimes they do get a little irate, and we really appreciate your service and your service as a police officer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat.
New and unfinished business. New and unfinished business. There will be a 10th annual back to school giveaway, August 25th 7th, 2011, in Martin Luther King Park, the band shell. It starts from 12 to 3 as the supplies last. We know they go pretty fast. And it's sponsored by yours truly, the 3rd District Councilman of the City of Hammond. So feel free to come out and get some school supplies for the kids. And it's a really enjoyable time, and I've been doing it for 10 years, and you should just see the faces of those kids when they come and get some school supplies. So it gives them an opportunity to get prepared for getting back to school. So, any other new and unfinished business? Any other new and unfinished business? Also, like a letter sent to Code Enforcement in regards to 5621 Maywood. This particular property has been vacant from some time, and I'd like to know if it's in foreclosure or if it's on the demo list. So I'm requesting a letter go to Code Enforcement. I so move.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Higgs, second by Councilman Spitali. We send a letter to Code Enforcement regarding the property at 5621 Maywood. Is there any discussion? Any discussion on the letter? Any discussion on the letter? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any nays? Motion passes. New and unfinished business. New and unfinished business. New and unfinished business. Also, I'd like a letter sent to the Board of Works, Mark and Stan, in the Engineering Department regarding the overlay from Hoven Avenue to State Line on Cleveland. I so move.
Second.
It's been motioned by Councilman Higgs, second by Councilman Spitali, that we send a letter to Code Enforcement and Engineering, not Code Enforcement, to Board of Works and Engineering regarding the overlay from Homan Avenue to State Line on Cleveland. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. New and unfinished business. New and unfinished business. New and unfinished business. New and unfinished business is now closed. First speaker of the night is Reverend San Diego Gomez.
Good evening, President Hicks and the rest of the council. And I just want to say that, 10 years ago, our neighborhood fought to remain there. It's our home, it's our church, our business, our family. There's many factors. 40 years, matter of fact, 41 years. This has been our home since my wife and I got married 41 years ago. Councilman supported us, and we've been there about 10, 11 years. We were told that we were not going to be uprooted. And when I heard about the school, I started asking questions. The neighborhood started asking questions, and we were told that our properties were not going to be affected, directly or indirectly. Those that choose to sell, they would buy, and those that wanted to remain there would continue to live there as long as they wanted to. This council knows that I was here trying to get clarity about our properties, our situation, what was going to become if this school came in. And at all times, we were told that our properties were not going to be affected. Councilman Markovich asked attorney from the city, what's her name? Kantar, here at this floor, to give us 2 weeks to get together with them if we had any questions, any concerns, any issues. And she said that our properties in question were not going to be affected. Councilman asked her about 3, 4 times. Finally, she said, okay, 2 weeks won't make any difference. And I met with them, and at the same time, they told me that our properties were not going to be affected, directly or indirectly. We went out to our street, and they told us that they were going to put if I'm not mistaken, cul-de-sac, that we would be able to turn there. And then they said they were going to put a fence. Then they were not going to put a fence. We could go around the alley or come back, through Ann Avenue. So there wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be an issue. Furthermore, we came back, and President Hicks asked me if all my concerns were answered, and I said no. President Hicks also asked him again to give us 2 weeks. And we got 2 weeks, and we met with them to try to get clarity. At all times, we were told that our properties in question was not going to be affected. I talked to Tom Nebertin, and he told me, he said, Reverend, I went to ask some questions about the school for my nephew. And he said, Reverend, you are not going to be forced out. So a few days ago, I got a call from Mr. Novak saying that they wanted to talk to me, that they had appraisals and they had an amount of money for us. The thing is, I told him, I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it this week. He said, well, then get up, get some coffee, wake up, and then call me back. So we went to the meeting on Friday, and they gave us the appraisals, and they told us that we had 30 days in which to give them an answer. I looked at the appraisals. The appraisals were done in February. They had probably started around November, December, January with these appraisals for our properties. And now here, they're giving me 30 days, give them an answer. And then the amount, the fee, it's not, even close to what, if we wanted to sell, would be, you would call fair. It's a slap in the face. We've been here in Hammond 41 years. My wife and I participated in many programs. We worked for the ad hoc committee and members. I was chaplain for the council. We worked with the community. We helped the community. And we even cleaned other things that properties that belong to the city. And all this year we have been working hard. No one has ever asked us to do anything on our property. We have taken the initiative to do it on our own. This was done in false pretense. They knew that we fought last time. And they made us to believe that because, if they would tell us that our properties were not going to be affected directly and indirectly, probably we wouldn't do anything about it. And that's what happened. We took them at their word. They promised, and they looked, to be honest. And then a few days ago, I come to find out, I was asleep. They woke me up. For a whole week, my body trembled. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. And, I'm a 63-year-old man. And for 3 days, I cried because I didn't know what we were going to do, where we were going to go. This is our life. Like I said, this is our home.
We took all that under consideration, Mr. Gomez.
Yes.
And I understand your sentiments and your view as to it relates to your property. And I would advise you to get with your councilman and address your concerns with him immediately. Okay?
No, okay. But I just want to let you know that's how we feel.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Next speaker is George Stoyer.
I'll pass or yield my time to the Reverend if it wants.
Reverend, he's yielding you one more time. He's yielding. If you have anything else, he's yielding it to you.
No, just to take that in consideration.
Okay.
I have all admiration and respect for you because you are the ones that are here in the city, and you're supposed to look out for our best interests as residents and here in Hammond, like I said, taxpayers, and as people that works for what God has given us. We work to maintain it, to upgrade it, and there's people that don't work, and they're handed out, hand and foot, and we work hard 40 years, and then they want to take it away from us. So
I understand, but you need to get with your councilman.
Yes.
And there are some avenues that you can take as a property owner. So I would advise you to get with him immediately and address those concerns with him.
okay, thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
It's been motioned by Councilwoman Poland, second by Councilman Hinojosa, that we leave this meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion passes.